no internet. And I was worried because in the chat I had just said Bob the Canadian always starts on time, never early, never late. And then when I went to push the button to start the live stream, it said that I had no internet. But I think it's working now. Hi, I'm Bob the Canadian. Welcome to this live English lesson where we're going to talk about basically anything that you ask me about regarding the English language or even about me. Let me just check to make sure my audio is working so good. Once again, welcome to this live lesson. Thank you to all of you that were in the chat earlier. If you have been following me recently, you know that schools are closed in Canada for the next 3 weeks because of the coronavirus. I'm sure that many things are changing in your countries as well. And I thought there's no reason to not have an English lesson since I'm home anyways. I'm just going to continue doing my lessons as I normally do. So here we are on a Saturday. I do want to explain why I'm earlier though. It is actually the same time in Canada, but it might be a different time in your country. So I apologize if this is an hour earlier. This past weekend in Canada, we changed our clocks by 1 hour. And I know in some countries you don't do that, and in some countries you do. Anyways, hi to everybody. There will be a link posted by Todd in the chat over there that you can use to ask questions. And let's get started on this. I do want to mention though that let's try to focus on learning English. And let's try to make sure the chat is in English as well so that it helps people with their English learning. This is meant to be an English listening activity for you. So this is a native English speaker talking, excuse me. Hopefully it is helpful. Dimitro has the first question from Ukraine, says, hello, Bob. I guess you already moved clocks 1 hour forward. Yes, we did that last weekend. When I went to bed Saturday night, I lost an hour of sleep. So we have now switched, and we are now an hour different than some parts of the world. So Deekshanch has the next question. Do you remember the similar SARS outbreak in 2002 that originated in China? Was that just as bad? Canada recorded 43 deaths in that outbreak. So Deekshanch, I don't think it was, I don't think it spread as quickly. And I think in Canada, we contained it very quickly, the SARS virus, because I don't remember it being this big of a deal. We didn't close down schools. I don't remember what time of year it was, but I think it was something that we got under control quickly and then quickly eliminated. So yes, I do remember it, but I don't remember it being as big of a deal, we would say. I'm Porn from Pardon My English. I'm beginning to learn English. Please teach me. Thank you. Am I speaking right? A few errors in there that you'll notice I fixed for you. I am beginning to learn English. Please teach me. Thank you. Am I speaking correctly? That's how I would say those sentences. But that is awesome that you are learning English. That is very, very cool. I'm glad that you are. Henry from Taiwan says, hi, Teacher Bob. Has Teacher Bob stocked up on anything? So notice I added a word there, Henry. Has Teacher Bob stocked up on anything when the virus has become a pandemic and panic buying has been reported worldwide? So Jen and I think because we live out in the country, we usually buy quite a few groceries in advance anyways. We did go out and make sure that we had some of the essentials, but we didn't stock up. I think if we needed to stay home for 3 or 4 weeks, I think we have enough food normally to do that. I think because we feed so many kids, because I have 5 kids, we always have a big bag of flour. We always have a big bag of rice. We always have lots of food in our freezer because there are so many kids to feed. So it's just part of our normal routine. So we didn't go out in a panic and buy lots of food. We normally in our house have lots of food ready to go. Hey, I want to pause and just say welcome to the 372 people watching. Please remember that the chat is for English conversations. And if you have a question, please use the link that Todd is sharing in the chat to ask your question. I did want to mention one other thing. You'll notice that Dave, the Canadian, was not here yesterday and he's not here today. Dave is actually traveling right now. Dave left on a trip earlier this week. And I'm hoping everything goes well on Dave's trip. Hopefully you can think the same thoughts for Dave right now. He's off traveling. I'm not sure when he'll get back. I'm sure when Dave gets back from his trip, he will probably have to be in quarantine now. So we might not see Dave in the chat for a while. So anyways, if you are a religious person who prays, pray for Dave that he has a safe trip and that he gets back to us soon. Anyways, let's move on. With Sala has the next question. Says, hi Pop, thank you for your time. What is the meaning of single day? I listen to it so much. So, excuse me, if you're talking about just the phrase like it took a single day, we would probably more likely say it took a whole day. So I had a job to do and it took a whole day. When you say single day, it means one day. So you might say something like, I might take a single day off next week. I'm actually taking every day off next week, but I might take a single day off. But basically it just means one day. So I do just want to mention again as people are flowing in, please use the chat for conversation. Please don't try to ask me questions in the chat because it goes by so fast. It's too hard for me to answer them all. Let's see here. Next question is about reductions. Iyad Shah says, in the American English reduction, they used to drop the letters in those examples for them or for him. They both pronounce the same. So if I was going to buy something for them, if I was going to buy something for him, there is a slight difference. Like if I was going to buy something for him or for them. So notice when I say for them, I still do have my tongue here, for them. Like I'm going to buy coffee for them. I'm going to buy coffee for him. I know it might sound very similar, but it is different, okay? If there were a lot of people, I would say I'm going to buy some coffee for them. If there was one person, I would say I'm going to buy a coffee for him. Let me get a sip of tea here. Someone asked earlier, I think it was Mohammed, if I had my tea ready. Yes, I have my tea ready, Mohammed. And Mohammed also asked if I was ready, and I said I was born ready. In English, that's kind of a funny little phrase we use when we are ready for something. If someone says, are you ready? Sometimes we'll say, I was born ready. So yes, I was born ready. Ferris from Taiwan says, hi Bob, how are you today? Could you let me know what's the difference between when and while? Many thanks. So when you go to the store, you buy food. While you are at the store, you buy food. So a little difference in the time reference. So when I go to the store, I buy food. But if I say while I'm at the store, I'm already in the store. Okay, so if I say when I go to the store, I'm referring to the time in the future when I'm going to go to the store. If I say while I'm in the store, I buy food. So one is talking about before you go, and the other is talking about the time when you are already there. Swami has the next question. And Swami says, hello, Robert. Could you please, by the way, did you know my real name is Robert? Bob is a short form, so some people call me Robert. Excuse me. I'm not sick, by the way. I just have a little bit of a tickle in my throat from talking so much. Swami says, hello, Robert. Could you please clarify the meaning of the phrase out by myself? Thanks for helping us out a lot. Well, it's no problem to help you. When you're out by yourself, or if I was out by myself, it just means that I am out and no one else is with me. You don't have to say it that way, but you could just say, the other day I was out and I bought a few things. You could also say, the other day I was out all by myself. And you could say, the other day I was out by myself. Simply meaning that it was just you and no other people were there with you. Let me clean up my questions here for a sec. Let's see here. Maya says, oh, questions are coming in the chat, moving things along. People saying they love Canada. Thank you very much. Maya says, hello, Teacher Bob. It's good to see you. Thank you very much. I've seen the word veggie used as a short form of vegetarian in an English textbook. Is this variant commonly used? So yes, so veggie is a short form of vegetable, okay? So you should eat your veggies. So that would mean that you should eat your vegetables, okay? So veggies is not a short form for vegetarian. It is a short form for vegetables. So we have fruit like apples, and we have vegetables like celery. So you should eat your veggies. It's really good to eat your veggies. Great question, by the way. And it is very common. People often use the word veggies when they're talking about vegetables. Let's see. Kim Dung says, what should I learn when I begin to study English? So 2 things. I would watch children's cartoons for your listening, and I would find children's books for your reading. And then I would find a way to learn basic English vocabulary, whether that's a book or whether that's a flashcard set. But that's how I would start. I would start with things that are simple. And there's nothing wrong with watching kids shows or reading kids books. Okay, there's no shame in that. It's a good starting point. Let's see here. Otis says, I don't know exactly the term beam on. Can you explain for me? Thank you very much. So I'm not sure about beam on, but I do know that a beam, so there is a beam of light hitting me right now. So I have my big light right here, and it sends out light. So it sends out beams of light. And right now, as I sit, a beam of light is hitting me. Let's see here. Again, folks, a lot of questions in the chat. Let's slow down on that. Use the chat to talk. Let's use the forum to ask questions. I'll get through them as quickly as possible, and we'll keep going from there. Sebastian says, hi, Bob. A big hello from Germany. Hello, Sebastian. I would like to know what is the difference between consistently and constantly. Thank you very much in advance. So if someone is consistently doing a good job, that means over days and weeks and months, they are doing a good job. If someone is constantly bugging me, or constantly asking me a question, it means that for hours on end, they're asking me that question. So they are slightly different. They mean very much the same thing, but there is a subtle difference between the two, okay? So again, I'll give you that example again. If someone is consistently doing a good job over days or months, that means that every day they do a good job. But if someone is constantly bugging me, it would be something like for the next hour. So you can almost use them interchangeably. We would use consistently related to things that are positive for sure. Let's see here. Next question is from, I have to click here 1 sec. Bilal says, hello, sir. My question is, when do we use off of together? And if you may, real versus for real. Okay, so when you get off of something, so if you are on a motorcycle, when you're done driving, you need to get off of the motorcycle. You could also just say get off the motorcycle. So let me repeat that. If you are on a motorcycle, is that the right hand? I think it is, yes. I used to drive a motorcycle and I can't remember. Clutch, brake, throttle, I think, yeah. Anyways, you get off of the motorcycle when you are done driving, but you could also say that you get off the motorcycle. So often you don't need to use the of. And the difference between real and for real is if like this tea is real good, this is a real mug. But if I was to say I had a lot of fun and someone said for real, they're basically saying, did you really have fun? So it's kind of a questioning word that you can use. Hey, I want to stop and say hello to the 547 people watching. Thank you so much for being here. If you're new here, don't forget to click that red subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. I do appreciate that. I do make videos every Tuesday, and I do live lessons every Friday and every Saturday. So welcome, especially if you are new here. Just a few rules. The chat is for English conversation. If you have questions, please ask it using the link that Todd or Nightbot is providing, okay? So I do appreciate all the chat, but I can only answer one question at a time, and I've tried to do it as best as I can. Sherlock says, hello, Bob. Would you mind to teach us some poems and literature in English with textbook? So I can do that. In fact, I was wondering if I should do a short series on good books to read and good poems to read in English. I did a video earlier this year on good books to read, but I didn't actually talk about the books very much. So I might do another video where I recommend books that you should read, but also kind of explain to you the beginning chapter of the book so that you have a bit of understanding of what's going on in the book. So that's a great suggestion. I'll see what I can do about that. And we'll go from there. Next question is from Zhang Ping. Hi, Bob. I want to know how to deal with English words with multiple meanings that might be pretty different. Thank you. So this is something where you just simply need to use the words in context. So if you're looking at a word that means two different things, that a word that has multiple meanings, you just need to practice using them in sentences where each of the meaning is clear from how you use it in the sentence. I don't have any examples for you off the top of my head, but that is one thing that you should certainly do. Next question. Nawal says, hello, Teacher Bob, how are you doing? I would like to ask you about this phrase, ounce for ounce, and what does it mean figuratively? Thank you so much for your effort. So ounce for ounce is simply, it's an older phrase. We don't use it a lot anymore. We use pound for pound sometimes. So literally it means the actual weight of an ounce. So if I give you an ounce, then that's an exact ounce. But if you're talking figuratively, it means something a little bit different. It means basically, I'm looking it up right now, can you tell? Because I want to make sure I give you a clear definition of it. So ounce for ounce, gold is more valuable than aluminum. So I see what you're saying. Yes, I think comparatively, if I was to say ounce for ounce, black tea is more money than green tea. I don't actually know if that's true. That would be a comparative or a way to compare two things. But I don't think I answered that very well. Actually, Nawal, I think you should definitely look that one up on Google to see if you can find a better explanation than what Bob the Canadian is giving. Danny CDN says, Bonjour, Bob. What would be the best way to say that things are turning bad related to the coronavirus? Is it possible to say things went south? Greetings from France. So when you're talking about, so something is bad, so you could say right now in Canada, things aren't too bad. You could say things are getting worse. You could say that things are going south. Yes, we do say that sometimes, like things are going south quickly. And you could say that things are just going, things are getting worse every day. Those are a few phrases that I would use to describe when things are getting worse, or when they're getting, when things are more bad, or that's not really right. When things are worse every day, you would simply say that they are getting worse. Barto, I should slow down a bit. I feel like my explanations aren't very good. Let me take a sip of tea and just enjoy the moment for a sec, and let's get back to the next question. Bartos says, did you prepare food stock? So I think what Bartos is asking is, did Jen and I go out and buy lots of groceries? So again, as I said earlier, we didn't buy anything too much more than we normally do, but we already buy a lot of groceries. We make a lot of our own food. So we do a lot of baking and a lot of cooking. So we usually have a lot of dry goods on hand anyways. We usually have lots of flour because we make muffins and cookies and pancakes and bread. So we always have a big bag of flour. We usually have lots of beans and lots of rice. So, and we have a lot of food in our freezer. We actually have 2 freezers. The reason we have 2 freezers is we actually get food from Jen's parents who are still farmers. So we have enough food. We certainly didn't run out and go crazy and panic and buy lots of extra food. No, we didn't do that. Let's see here. Abel says, hi, Bob. Abel from Texas. I have a question. Does the phrasal verb stuck up mean that you really like something and don't want to get rid of it? Thank you. No, when you say that someone is stuck up, you are saying that you think they are arrogant, or you think that they are a person who isn't very kind to other people, someone who thinks they are better than everyone. So if you were to say, Bob is stuck up, it would mean that you think I am arrogant and I think I'm better than everyone else in the world. If you were to say that someone is stuck up in a tree, though, you simply are saying that they're in a tree and they can't get down. So a little bit different meaning there. Let's see here. I do want to say, even though I don't answer questions from the chat, I do want to say hi to people in the chat. So hi to Kosar and Thung Tang and Zali. It's really cool. Hi to Elvin. It is cool to see everyone in the chat. And I do appreciate all of the people that come out to watch this lesson. Let's move on to the next question though. Madi, hi Madi. Madi says, hey, but the Canadian, hopefully your country is very well. I think you meant Bob the Canadian there. Hi Bob the Canadian, hopefully your country is very well. Also my country, there is no panic. I think social media made people very scared. I think social media has made people very scared, and I just want to mention that. Yeah, there's a big difference between looking at social media and getting scared and simply being well informed. So I hope everyone is well informed, and I hope that the entire world is doing what we need to do to slow this virus down. And I hope all of you are doing that. I hope you're staying in more than normal if you can. I hope that you're not going to large social gatherings. In Ontario, Canada right now, we are not allowed to have social gatherings with more than 250 people. The government has said no social gatherings. So that's why there's no school for a little bit and other things like that. Let's see here. Rai from Brazil. I'd like to ask you a question. What's the difference between these questions? Who do you want change or changing? Who do you want to change? So that's tricky because those questions aren't quite correct. So I have to read them for a sec to get a sense of it. Who do you want to change? Or I think what you're saying is, what do you want to change? So if I was to say, if we were to do this differently, what do you want to change? That's what you would say. What do you want to change? If you were talking about government, though, or a person, you could say, who do you want to change? But it's slightly different for sure. Let's go to the next question. It's from Mantai. Mantai says, let me get that pasted in here. Mantai says, what should I do to improve my English when I talk? So notice, Mantai, I corrected you a bit there. What should I do to improve my English when I talk? What should I do to improve my English when I talk? I didn't correct you. That's a totally correct English sentence. That's awesome. Sorry. All I keep telling people is that you need to keep having conversations. The more conversations you have, the better you will get at speaking English. And then there is a link to Preply down below in the description. Preply is a place where you can hire people to help you learn a little bit of English. In fact, just this past week, I had a really cool conversation with Pavlo at Preply. Him and I talked via Google Hangouts for a little bit because I really like that product. So we had a little conversation. It was lots of fun. Hi to Pavlo if he's out there watching, but that was a fun conversation. It was neat to hear a little bit more about that product. So anyways, you at some point, you do need to have a face-to-face conversation with someone for sure. Lalalita Salam says, Salam is the Arabic way to say hi. From now on, I will say Salam. Is that okay? Sure. The talk lately is all about coronavirus. It's outbreaking so fast. So that is one thing that I was surprised about, was how quickly it went from on Thursday I was teaching. Thursday night we were told that school was canceled for 3 weeks. And then by yesterday morning, almost everything in North America is closed. So in Canada and in the United States, the library is closed. Most people who go to the gym is closed. The arena is closed. Schools are closed. So I was pretty shocked at how quickly everything changed. Because it seemed like life as normal on Wednesday, and then all of a sudden things started to change. So Lolly says, Bonjour, Bob. Please, what's the difference between refuse, reject, and declined? Merci, Bob. So if you refuse something, it means you don't want it. If you reject something, it means you don't want it. And if you, what was the last one? Decline something, it means you don't want it. So if someone says, you know, I offered to take someone out to dinner, but they refused to go, it kind of means they were not very nice about it. They were like, no way, I'm not going with you. If they rejected it, it kind of is pretty mean as well. And if they declined it, it's a little more polite. So Lolly, that's not the greatest explanation that I just gave, but certainly all of them mean to indicate that you don't want something. Okay, so if I refuse to go to school, that means that I'm going to say I'm not going. If I reject the idea, that means I don't like the idea. And if I decline the offer, it means that I'm not in favor of doing what was being offered. I really think you should look that one up, though, Lolly. I think that that wasn't one of my finest explanations. So, Hannah says, "Hi, Bob. I'm from Vietnam. How can I use the word procrastinate?" So there's a little spelling mistake there, but it's procrastinate. When you procrastinate, it means you do everything at the last minute. So if you had a test, and if you studied just the night before, we would say that you are procrastinating. So when you procrastinate, you leave things for the last minute. Many students leave things for the last minute. It's quite common. Next question. Raiden says, what exactly does passive aggressive mean? So passive aggressive is when you don't outright say you don't want to do something, but you kind of do things that make that thing impossible. So here's a good example. If I said to my mom, I'll pick you up at 10 and take you to the grocery store. And if my mom didn't want to go, when I show up at 10, she won't be ready. When we go to the grocery store, she'll tell me at the first one that it's not the grocery store she likes. So instead of saying that she didn't want to go, she would be passive aggressive. So she would do things to make the whole situation not very fun. I see a lot of hearts in the chat right now. Thank you very much for all the hearts, everyone. It's very, very kind of you to give me so many hearts. Oh, wait a sec. Oh, I see. Live now. Yeah, I think that was all one person. I think Todd took care of it. Thanks, Todd. At first, I thought it was someone that really liked me, but I think it was someone who was promoting their own stuff, which is fine, but I mean, don't do it over and over again. Let's see here. Dave94 says, how can I pronounce the word regularly quickly? So I regularly say the word regularly. When I get up in the morning, I regularly have a cup of tea. So regularly. There you go. Hopefully that made some sense to you. Let's see. Natalia from Russia says, after arrival or after arriving? What's the difference? Thanks a lot. So if you were to say someone was coming to the airport, you would say after arrival, they need to go and pick up their baggage, okay? If you were to say they need to pick their baggage up after arriving, that means the same thing. So it's a very subtle difference. My recommendation is that the second one is probably more common, where you would say after arriving, they went and got their luggage. After arriving at the airport, they called Uber to book a ride, okay? I think that one's more common anyways, the second one. So anyways, here, Deek Shant gives me a heart. Thanks, Deek Shant. I knew someone out there would give me a heart who wasn't necessarily self-promoting. Let's see here. Next question. Conan says, hi, Bob. Can you help me pronounce 1,111 years? Thank you so much. So numbers can be a bit of a problem, right? So if you notice there in the chat, Conan says, hi, Bob. Can you help me pronounce 1,111 years? So that's how you would pronounce that. Great question. I should do a whole video just on numbers. For me in French, once I get over 1,000, it gets a little challenging for me to do my numbers. And especially in French, the whole 80, you know, when you say 420s is 80. That's always been a challenge for me. Let's see here. Next question is from Safwan from Pakistan. Hope everything is fine with you. I have a question. What does it mean when it rains, it pours? So this simply means it's something you say in English when a whole bunch of things go wrong at the same time. So if you walk outside and your car has a flat tire and you fix the flat tire, and then as you're driving, you notice that you're out of gas, and then you run out of gas. And then when you go to the gas station, you realize you don't have your wallet. So you have three bad things happen. You would say, when it rains, it pours. Basically saying that, you know, when it starts to rain, it's usually just going to be really heavy rain, but also just commenting on what has just happened to you. Next question is from Rosa. from Brazil. Nice to see you again. Thank you very much. How to pronounce deaf and death. I can say deaf, or is it better to say the deaf man? Thank you. So deaf is when you can't hear. So if you are deaf, you can't hear. So you are a deaf person. And you would say that the person is a deaf man, or that that person is deaf. And then death is when you are dead. Okay. So if you say deaf man, it might be a little easier to say, because deaf man, when you put those two words together, it forces you to say the F. And then death is just something where you really have to practice that th sound, okay? Where your tongue comes out a little bit, death. Like you can see death. You can see my tongue when I say that. So that's the pronunciation of those two. Hey, let me clean up my questions here a little bit. I am woefully behind on the questions, everyone, so please be patient. I will try to get through as many as I can, and we'll go from there. Hi, dear teacher Bob. Is there any difference between pronunciation of English dictionary app and daily pronunciation of native speaker? Thanks. So the only thing I would say is this, is that if you have a dictionary app, it's probably incredibly clear and precise pronunciation, okay? If you talk to a native speaker, they are going to condense words. They are going to have a lot of reductions in their speech. They are going to use contractions, which you may not get with a dictionary app, okay? Both are very valuable though. You should be using a dictionary app, and you should be talking to native speakers who speak quickly. But certainly a dictionary app is going, in my opinion, is going to be very precise, okay, when it says things. Just the same way I try to be very precise most of the time, but then sometimes I talk a little too quickly. Hey, I just want to say hello to the 700 people watching. I don't think that's a record. Well, it might be a record, but thank you so much for being here. I think the chat is going to get a little crazy, so please use the chat just to talk to each other, and please keep the chat in English as well. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up. I do appreciate that. We're going to continue on. There will be a link where you can ask questions, but I have to be honest, at this point, I'm not sure I will get to your question, depending on how things go. And if you are new here, I'm Bob the Canadian, and I teach English on YouTube. I have thousands of videos. That's not true, Bob. I have a couple hundred videos that you can watch on my channel. Take a look at some of them if you have time. Let's go with the next question. Ario says, hi, good evening. I'm worried about my English. I'm worried my English will not improve. Should I be worried? I need your advice. Thank you. So no, don't be worried. And if you are worried, use that worry as motivation to study. And one way that you can do that well is to schedule an English test. If you have ever taken an English test, schedule a test like a TOEFL test or an IELTS test like 3 months into the future, and then use that stress to motivate you to study every day. When I was learning French and I took my B1 and my B2 French tests, when I knew I had a test in 6 months, you wouldn't believe how hard I would study knowing that that test was coming. So use the stress, use the anxiety to motivate good study habits. That's what I would do. Let's see here. Passan says, hi, Bob. Do we have to think in English or in our native language first before we talk? So ideally, you will not be translating in your head. Ideally, you will eventually think in English when you're having a conversation. But initially, when you first start, you are definitely going to be translating in your head, okay? You're going to be thinking, il fait beau, it is nice outside today. Il fait du soleil, it's sunny outside today. So you're always going to be switching back and forth, but eventually, the brain is amazing. Your brain is amazing. Eventually, you will start to think in English. My favorite thing is when I dream in French. Sometimes after a long day at school, when I speak French for 3 hours, then that evening I will start to dream, and people in my dream will speak French. So you will know if you have studied enough English when you start to dream in English. It's a very cool thing to happen. Arthur from Taiwan has the next question. I heard Bob sometimes would say, I think. There are some people would say, in my view, or others. So you could say, I think this phone is really good. In my opinion, this phone is really good. In my view, Google makes really good phones. So there are a lot of ways to express your opinion, okay? So one of them is to start a sentence by saying, I think. So that's definitely one way to do it. Let's see here. Irina from Ukraine has the question, hi Bob, is there any difference in pronunciation of posing and pausing? Thanks in advance. So when you pose, like let's say you were taking pictures of me and I would be like, and I would pose. Do you know what I mean by pose? Like I try to look good for the camera. So I am posing. But if I was playing a video on my phone, I could pause. So I am pausing the video. So posing and then pausing. Okay, so slight difference there between the two, posing and pausing. You can see my mouth is a little different, right? Posing, pausing, a little bit more open, a little bit more of an A sound. Pausing. Let's see here. I have to read this one well before I say it out loud. Okay. Let's see here. Freddie says, Freddie from Costa Rica, I would like that you give me some frequent expressions related to dating a girl or having a relationship with her. So I am not an expert on how to talk to girls. You can ask Jen about that. I am not a very romantic person, but here is what I would tell you. This would be my advice. If you are speaking English to a girl who you would like to date, I would simply be extremely nice to her. And I would ask her lots of questions about what makes her who she is. And I would be very, very nice to her. And I would just be interested genuinely in who she is as a person. So no magic there. I think it's true in every single language that when you treat someone with respect and when you are interested in someone as a person, I think all of the other things would follow naturally. That's Bob the Canadian's advice on dating. Be yourself. Be nice to the other person. Don't be a jerk. That's your number one. Don't be a jerk. Let's see here. I'm not starting another YouTube channel where I give dating advice. That is not going to happen. Pavel says, hi Bob, what's the difference between immediately, at once, right away, and straight away? They all mean the same thing. So after this live stream, I'm going to at once, I'm going to immediately go for a walk. I'm going to go for a walk at once. I'm going to go for a walk right away. I'm going to go for a walk straight away. Sorry, I'm still laughing about me giving dating advice. I'm no Don Juan. So in English, sometimes we refer to Don Juan. You'll have to look that up. I'm certainly not Don Juan, I'm just Bob the Canadian. Israel says, hi Bob, how are you? I'm good, thank you for asking. Could you tell me how to pronounce daughter and what does through mean? Thanks a lot. Greetings from Ciudad de Mexico. So daughter, it's spelled wrong there, by the way, Israel, just so you know. It's actually D-A, it's daughter. So don't get confused by all those extra letters. It's simply daughter, okay? And then what does through mean? Simply means that, I can look through my glasses. So right now, I can see through my glasses, right? So I can see through the lens right there. So whenever you have something go through something, it goes through the middle of it. So next question. Let's see. Sayad Akil Shah says, she is getting her groove back in 20 minutes. Explain. So when someone is dancing or enjoying themselves, they sometimes say they're in the groove or that they're getting their groove on. It's an informal slang phrase. So maybe someone is at a club and they are dancing and then someone says something to them mean and they don't feel like dancing. Maybe in about 20 minutes, they would get their groove back on for sure. It's not a super common phrase and it has other meanings as well. But other than that, hey, Raphael Negret Vitella, I see that you keep asking the same question in chat in really big letters. So maybe ask that using the forum and I'll see if I can get to it. Let's see here. Abdiaziz, what would you think the best way to speak fluently like a native speaker? So 2 ways to do that. Both cost money. One is you hire a tutor online. 2, you go and live in a country where people speak English. That is probably the 2 best ways. You can do a lot of mimicking. You can do a lot of shadowing. Like you can listen to me talk, hit pause, and then say what I just said. All of those things help. But nothing can really replace actually talking to a native speaker. That is like, it is the best way to do it, for sure. And I know it's hard. It's hard to find a way to do that. Let's see here. Danielle, hi. Our university teacher told us that people who use such words as gonna, wanna, etc. are poorly educated. It's not true, right? It is not true at all. Using reductions like I don't know, or I'm gonna do this, or I want to eat some food are all completely normal in informal English speech. So even someone like myself who went to university, who is what I would say an educated person, I often say gonna, wanna, coulda. Reductions are everywhere in regular English speech at all levels, okay? So if you talk to a university professor, if you're just out having a coffee with them and they are speaking informally, they are going to use reductions like gonna, coulda, woulda. If they are giving a speech, they probably wouldn't, but certainly people in Canada always use reductions, okay? It is a misconception that it is only uneducated people that do that. Everyone uses reductions. Let's see here. Samuel, is it normal that sometimes I can watch a TV show and understand a lot, and sometimes I cannot? Yes, it's totally normal. In fact, what happens with me when I watch French television shows, sometimes when I watch 10 episodes, the first episode, it can be a little bit difficult for me to understand the unique accents of each person. By the end of the series, though, I can understand everyone. But then when I start a new show, sometimes it takes me a little while to adjust again. We have the same thing as English speakers. If I watch a movie and the people in the movie have Irish accents, so they're speaking English, but they are from Ireland, sometimes it takes me a while to understand them. So it's totally normal. In fact, it's why some of you find it easy to understand me, but find it difficult when you start watching another YouTuber who is teaching English, because it can take a while to get used to each person's unique accent. Jesse, the Canadian, is here. Hi, Jesse. Hi, Bob. You rock. How often do we use the word peculiar instead of weird? So peculiar is hard to say, and we don't use it a lot, but you will hear it from time to time, okay? We use the word weird more, okay? So, you know, oh, this food tastes weird, or I wouldn't say this food tastes peculiar. I would say this food tastes weird, mostly because I have trouble saying peculiar. Did you notice that? It's not an easy word to say. Hey, I'm gonna pause and say hi to the 763 people watching. I think at this point in time, we may have broken a record, 762 people. That seems like a lot of people to me. I'm so happy that you are all watching. I'm Bob the Canadian. I do little English lesson videos every Tuesday. You can go and watch some later if you want. I do a live lesson every Friday morning, my time, and I do an English lesson every Saturday. That's what you're watching right now. It's really cool that you're here. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new to this channel. And again, just thanks for being here. Take some time to look around at some of my other videos later. I'm sure you will enjoy them. Let's move on to the next question though. Frank says, hi Bob, it's very hard for me to tell the pronunciation then, than from they. Could you teach me how to tell them? So it just comes down to context. First, I should tell you that English native speakers sometimes get then and than mixed up. So they actually use those words wrong. But it's best to think about then related to time, and than is usually used to compare things, okay? So this tea is better than this water. But listen to this. I'm going to say, this tea is better than this water. So you hear how I pronounced it slightly wrong, and that's very common in English. So sorry about that. It's a weird language. If you say it slowly, you will hear the than, but if you say it quickly, you will hear the then. Hey, I just want to back up and say thank you to Zoom Rude Alex. for the sticker. Thank you for the sticker and the $2.99 RUB. I'll have to figure out how much that is later, but I do appreciate when people give me stickers or super chats. Thank you very much. And I do want to mention that you'll notice some people in the chat, their name is in green. It is because they have become members of my channel. There is a join button that you can use to become a member. There are a few perks that you get as a member. You get your name in green during live chats. And you get a little crown beside your name. But there's also worksheets for the videos and a few other really cool things that you get if you are a member. So no pressure, you don't need to join, but if that is something that interests you, you can read in the description what you all get if you are a member of my channel. But thanks to Lolly for being here, who's a member. And there's a few others who, now that I started saying names, I shouldn't do that because then I forget people. But let's move on to the next question. Next question is from Marcel. And Marcel's question is, when should children start learning their first foreign language? 6 to 7 years or later, earlier? Should they know their own language properly? So they've done studies on this and discovered that it does not matter. So in homes where one parent speaks one language and the other parent speaks another language, children can equally learn both languages at the same time from a very early age, and it causes no problems for them, okay? There are many, many studies done that have indicated that growing up in a bilingual home actually makes you better at school, makes your brain work better. So I would say if you can raise your children from their earliest age, if you are, let's say your first language is Portuguese, maybe you're from Brazil, Brazilian Portuguese, I would read them bedtime stories in Brazilian Portuguese, and I would read them bedtime stories in English right from the very beginning. I think it's just a great idea. Let's see here. Next one is Trang says, why people use load shedding instead of power off? What is the difference? Thank you. So I am not familiar with load shedding. I don't know exactly what that means. It might be related to electricity, but I am familiar with the term that the power is off. So sometimes the power is off, and that means that we don't have electricity. I'm going to imagine that load shedding might mean when on certain days of the week, you don't have electricity. I know when I was traveling once, I was in a country where on Wednesdays, the place I was at didn't have electricity. So it is interesting. So Dari says, what's the difference between lay down and lie down? So lay down and lie down, I want to get this right because we use it wrong. So when you lay something down, so I can lay down my phone, but I can lie down and have a nap. That's the correct way to use it. Here's how we actually use it sometimes. Sometimes I say, I'm going to go lay down and have a nap. That's actually wrong, but English speakers say it all the time. I should be saying, I'm going to go lie down and have a nap, okay? So I'm going to go lie down and have a nap. I'm going to lay down my glasses. There you go. Great question, Sudari. And it comes up once in a while. It's a very common question because I think because we use it wrong all the time as native speakers. Ramon says, hello, Bob. How are you doing? It says going, but how are you doing? I was wondering whether it is common feeding 5 kids in your country. No, it's not common. Most Canadians have 1 or 2, maybe 3 children. Jen and I have 5. If you were to ask, why do we have 5? I don't know. I like all of them and it's great. But some days it seems like a lot. Some days it's just awesome. So believe it or not, the fact that we're stuck at home now with all of us, it's actually nice to have a lot of people around so we can play games in the afternoon. We might watch Frozen 2 later this week because it's going to be free to watch, I think, in Canada. So we might watch a movie together. Let's see here. Next question. Next question is from Kyo. Hi, Bob. Can you tell me some YouTubers to learn English? Thanks and have a nice day. So I have always said this to all of you. If you watch my videos, that's great, but you should be watching some other English YouTubers. I think that if I was to recommend some, I certainly like Sorry, I can't remember her name right now. This is bad, isn't it? I should remember all of my fellow English teachers on YouTube. But I do like English with, what is her name again? Let me look it up. She's one of the more popular ones. I will find it for a sec. I know that I will find it somewhat quickly. Let's see here. Learn English with Vanessa. Sorry, that's who I usually recommend. Learn English with Vanessa. You could also look at learning English with someone who has the accent that you want to learn. So there is Aussie Pete. So Aussie English as well is a great channel to go to. So just look up who's the most popular. There are a lot of English teachers on YouTube. And I'm sure you'll find someone that can help you out. El Fio says, hello, Teacher Bob. Could you explain how to use though in a sentence? How to use position and situation. I always make mistakes with them. So even though it's hard to understand, the word though is used pretty easily. So I usually give the example of using even though. So even though it's hard to do, you should do it anyways. As to your other two words, let's see here. Position and situation. Sometimes you're in a position where you have money to give. Sometimes you're in a situation where you don't have money to give. So they mean slightly different things, but they're very similar, okay? When you're in a certain position or when you're in a certain situation. Let's see here. Next question. I don't think I answered that last question very well, but I hope it gave you some advice. Shakti Salam says, hi, Teacher Bob. I'm from Manipur. I can understand what speakers are saying, but I can't speak properly. Please help me. So 3 things to do right away. If you can understand what people are saying, you should start shadowing it, especially if you are watching TV or watching a YouTube video. So if you're doing that with me, play about 10 seconds of my video, hit pause, and then repeat what I'm saying. That's the first thing that you should do, is start to shadow what other people are saying. The second thing I would do is you have to start getting into more and more English conversations. So use the link below to sign up for Preply or one of the other services where you can hire someone to speak English with you. That is my number one piece of advice. And then lastly, if you can actually find someone in real life who speaks English, who is willing to meet with you, just do that, okay? Just find someone who can talk to you in English. It's so helpful to have someone who you can talk to. Next question, Dzambul says, when did you understand that English lessons is it your way? When did you understand that English lessons, it is your way? I'm not quite sure I understand the question there, but maybe you're asking, when did I think that teaching English on YouTube would be a good idea? About 3 years ago, I made a couple videos and people liked them, so I made them. I just kept making them. So I'm not sure if that was your question, Dzambul, but hopefully I was able to answer that correctly. Let's see here. Yauchi says, why do you say pregnancy into banana oven? So we don't say banana oven, but I will tell you what we do say. If there is a woman who is pregnant, we say that she is expecting. Okay, so when you say someone is expecting, that means that they are going to have a baby. It means that they are pregnant. But we also say she has a bun in the oven. And I think that's what you are trying to ask. We don't say banana oven. We say she has a bun in the oven. So when you bake something in the oven and it comes out and it's done, and then I guess what people are saying is, when a woman is pregnant, the womb is like an oven and it's making a baby. So we say that she has a bun in the oven. It is slang. It is a slang phrase, but it is said, okay? We do say it in English. People will say, oh, she's got a bun in the oven. It's not kind. It's not polite, but people will say, will use that phrase. Just let me cough for a sec here. Sorry. Or clear my throat. That's the actual expression I should have used. Let me clear my throat. Let's see here. Next question. Mr. Alexi Gaming YT says, hi, Robert. Do you know that school teacher is Robert as well? What is the acronym? What does the acronym mean? I'm not sure what you're asking there, Mr. Alexi. Maybe yeah, I'm not sure. Can't really interpret that question. So I'm just going to move on. I'm sorry about that. I don't like it when I can't answer a question for someone. I really like being able to answer a question. Zawe says, what's the meaning of cashback? I was asked this question a lot in Walmart. Does that mean get cash from my credit card? So when you go to a store and you pay in Canada with a debit card, you can sometimes say, could I get some cash back? So let's say I'm buying glasses and they are $20. And I would say, I want to pay with my card. And they would say, do you want some cash back? I would say, yes, please give me $20. They will take my card and they will charge me $40, $20 to pay for the glasses, and they will then hand me a $20 bill. So in Canada, we still use cash sometimes, but we also use our debit cards. So you could say, I want to pay for this. Would you like some cash back? Yes, give me $40 cash back. And then they will give you some money with the transaction. So that's what cash back means. Carlos has a great question here. Thanks, Carlos. You made me smile and laugh today, Carlos. Carlos Moraes says, do people recognize you in the streets? No, they don't recognize me in the streets. What I will say, though, is I also have an account on TikTok. By the way, I do a TikTok video every day where I teach an English phrase. So my students at school were very quick to point out that they saw me on TikTok. Okay, so definitely... yeah, you will. I have not been recognized on the streets. I don't think I'm that popular, but certainly my students have mentioned to me that they've seen me online. I think people don't recognize me mostly because I don't have a lot of viewers from Canada. Most of my viewers are from other parts of the world. So it would be rare for someone to actually recognize me on the streets. Plus, I don't go out much, so... In English, when you say you don't go out much, it means that you stay home a lot. I'm certainly someone who likes being at home, and I don't go out a lot. Floriana says, can I ask you, what is the best way to learn English through the series Friends? Thank you for your answer. So a couple things you can do when watching a TV show like Friends or another television show. Number one, if you can slow the video down a little bit, it will help you understand it. This isn't always possible, but if you are watching it on YouTube or on a computer, you might be able to slow it down. The second thing I recommend is that you watch it once with the English subtitles on, then you watch it again with the English subtitles off. So you watch every episode 2 times. And then the third thing I recommend is that for every episode you watch, choose someone who you're going to shadow. So if on the one episode you decide that you're going to repeat everything that Chandler says, then whenever Chandler talks, pause and then say what Chandler said out loud. So do those 3 things. That's a great thing to do with any television show that you're watching. Excuse me. That wasn't very nice. I should have covered my mouth that time. I'm almost done here, by the way, but let's do a few more questions. Let's see. Girlfriend's from Japan and doesn't understand nuances in English. Recommended her to your videos. Do you have any other recommendations? Thank you. So nuances are when, if we say something slightly different, it means something different. So it can be sarcastic. Like if I say, good job, I mean that you did a good job. If I'm like, good job, it means that I think you did a bad job. So really the only way to recognize nuances is to actually have a lot of English conversations and start to get a sense of what is literal and what is figurative and what is sarcastic when someone is being sarcastic or cynical. So it's definitely challenging because sometimes the way we say things in English actually changes the meaning. And that was a good example what I just gave you. If I say to someone, wow, you did an awesome job. But if I'm like, wow, you did an awesome job. So those 2 things mean exactly the opposite. The second one actually means the negative. So let's see here. I'm going to do one more question, I think. Marnia has a question about, hi, Bob, could you please explain the word maverick? So a maverick is someone who does something differently than everyone else. So if someone is a maverick, They do some, like if if everyone on YouTube was doing one kind of video and I did something completely different, you would say that I'm a maverick. Excuse me. It comes from, actually, I don't know where it comes from, but isn't the guy in Top Gun, isn't his name Maverick? I think it is. So anyways, hey, I want to say thank you to, I think broke a record today, over 800 people at one point. Thank you so much for watching this live English lesson. It's an hour, so I'm going to end this right now, but please stick around. Go to my YouTube channel and watch a couple of videos today. If you're stuck at home and have nothing to do, work on your English. You don't have to watch my videos, but if you are stuck at home for the next week or two because of this virus, read an English book, watch lots of English television, do whatever you can. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget though, my video, this actual lesson will have English subtitles tomorrow. So if there were parts of it that you did not understand, please come back and watch it again tomorrow. It's really good for your listening skills to watch this 2 times. I'm sorry that I did not get through all the questions. I will try my best to do more, to be a little more speedy next time. Anyways, I'm Bob the Canadian. Subscribe if you have not subscribed yet by hitting that red button. Thumbs up on your way out. And thank you so much. I'm going to push the button now to end this